Okay, good, good, wonderful. Okay, well, thank you for coming. I'm excited to be here. The goal of today is to make you excited about using AI after you leave. I hope that everyone tries it. If you haven't tried it already, you'll be inspired to try it today. And if you are already using AI, hopefully you'll get some ideas for using it in different ways. There is a extremely wide range of things that you can do with it, and we'll explore some of those ways in this session. I'm going to show you how it can be useful, approachable, and even fun in everyday life. The title is Easy AI for an Enriched Life. How many people find technology in general somewhat intimidating? Okay, that's a little more than half of the audience, and someone raised 2 hands. Okay, so it's the title of this is Easy AI, so it's going to be easy, so don't worry. I'll make it very simple and approachable. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. But before we do that, a few housekeeping notes. I find that when I'm in a presentation and someone uses a lot of slides, I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to remember that. And so what I like to do in my presentations is make sure everyone can get the presentation after the presentation. That way you don't have to be so worried about remembering what you're seeing. You'll be able to have a copy, and I'll tell you how to get that after, toward the end. Participate. How many like it when you are in presentations like this and you get to participate a bit, answer questions, things like that? Okay, so I'll be asking you questions. Some of those questions you can just raise your hand or not, and then other questions will be, short answer questions. Now, I'm sure that you may have questions as well. There'll be a section toward the end where you can ask questions. And during that section, I'm actually going to have a co-presenter help answer those questions. I'm sure some of you may know who that co-presenter is. He nods his head. Okay, so that'll be fun. And yeah, relax and enjoy. Again, I also have a handout that has some of the main points from the session that you can take home with you. So, all right, here's what we're going to cover. What is AI all about? We'll define the term and talk about what people mean when they say AI, because it can mean completely different things depending on the context. After that part, you'll be able to better understand what AI means in those different contexts. Then we'll talk about AI assistants. That's one of the 3 types of AI that I'll tell you about. And it's in my opinion, it's the most relevant for you and the most important in general, and we'll talk about why. We'll explore some examples of what you can do with AI. We'll look at some prompts, talk about how you might turn those prompts into a conversation with the AI to get better results. Then we'll have some questions, and I'll give you some tips and suggestions for continuing your AI journey. All right, a little bit about me. My background starts in 1992. In 1992, I was exposed to a very exciting piece of software that not many people knew about, and it was called a web browser. And I used this piece of software, and I realized that this is going to change the world. The world of the future will be very different because of this piece of software. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So we use the web all of the time. We use mobile devices, which are essentially an extension of the web. And in 1992, I decided to immerse myself in this software and related software. I taught UCLA's first course on web technology and taught other courses for 28 years. And I also worked in tech. So I worked for MySpace. Anybody remember MySpace? So I was in product and engineering at MySpace, and then it turned into Fox Interactive Media. In addition to product and engineering in the real world, I enjoy teaching a lot. My favorite teaching experience was at UCLA for the instructor development program. That's where instructors would come and learn about things that could make them better instructors. So they invited me to participate and to teach instructors how to use web technology to enhance their courses. And the neat thing about that is that there would be such a wide variety of people in those courses. Many of them were older and not comfortable with using technology. And it was an amazing and fulfilling feeling to have them come in the morning, somewhat, overwhelmed, maybe a little anxious. And then by the end of the day, they would be thrilled and excited at what they were able to do. So that is what I find most fulfilling. I do enjoy the technology, but I also enjoy making it approachable and practical for people who are not technical. So in 2022, the exact same thing happened and the cycle repeated. I used ChatGPT and I said to myself, this is going to change the world that exists today. And that's exactly what's happening. AI is everywhere. It's being integrated into many of the things we use on a daily basis. And so I decided back then in 2022 to immerse myself in AI. And that is how I got here today. So let's talk about it. Oh, my company is Digital Mixology. We work with individuals and organizations, communities to better use AI to solve problems and improve daily life. Today we're going to focus on some simple things. There's a lot of noise with AI, big promises, big fears, big headlines, but we're going to start small and keep it simple. So our first section, what is AI all about? Before I answer that question, raise your hand if you already use AI. Okay, all right. So believe it or not, everyone should have raised their hand. I'll explain why in a minute. How many use ChatGPT? Okay. Okay, great. So if you, I'm going to work in some more advanced stuff. Some notes here and there, just for those of you who are already using ChatGPT, to make sure that you're able to get some new things that you can try out. Here is a good, concise definition, non-technical definition of what AI is. AI includes a range of software that can learn from information and assist with tasks that usually require human thinking. So that's a very broad definition, and what I like to do is organize AI into 3 different categories. So again, you hear AI all of the time. Sometimes it's talking about ChatGPT or AI assistants, but often it is not. And so being able to place things in these 3 different buckets will help when you hear AI and follow what's going on. So the first bucket is AI enhanced, the second is AI first, and then the third is AI assistance. Okay, so let's start with AI enhanced technology. This is AI that works quietly in the background. It makes familiar things easier, so things that you have done before, you can do in a different, more effective way using AI. So for example, let's say, how many have deposited a check in their ATM? Okay, about half of us, yeah. So the AI in that process has to do with how the ATM machine, it's a machine, and a lot of times the check has been written by someone who may or may not have good penmanship. And yet the ATM is capable of understanding exactly how much that check was made out for, who made it out, so on and so forth. So that's AI at work behind the scenes. You don't know it's there, but it's working and it's enabling that ATM machine to process that check. The human thing that it's doing is it's reading handwriting and interpreting it. And so it's a machine that's doing something that typically requires human thinking, and that qualifies as AI. How many have used voice typing on their phone? Isn't that super helpful? Because I mean, the phone has got like a tiny keyboard, right? And with voice typing, you don't have to worry about the typing on that tiny keyboard. You can just hit the microphone and you can start talking, and then it'll take what you're saying and convert it into text. So again, that's something that typically would take a human to do, to hear something and interpret it. But now your phone has AI in it that is able to take sound waves from your voice, look at the patterns, and determine what words you're saying, which is pretty fascinating if you think about it, especially since it's such a tiny device. If it's a quick question. Yes, Dragon naturally speaking. Yes. I've never had any obscene mistakes, but absolutely does make mistakes. It does, and so you should certainly check your messages before you send them when you voice type. But even when you voice type and check the message, the time that it takes you to check the message and fix any errors is typically going to be like a lot less time than if you were to type it from scratch. That's been my experience. Okay, let's look at another example. This woman is wearing a watch, and this watch will automatically call someone that she has identified as an emergency contact if it senses that she falls, because it's got technology in there that that's aware of her body position and knows when something bad has happened. So that's another example of AI. And finally, AI that we often use, navigation. So when you use Google Maps and other navigation applications, that is AI as well. So AI-enhanced products, they're often invisible and working behind the scenes. Okay, now let's talk about AI-first products. An AI-first product is a product that would not exist without AI. So let's look at an example. These aren't small enhancements. It's at the root of the actual application. Has anybody heard of MyHeritage, the MyHeritage AI time machine? No? Okay, so that's a good one to check out. MyHeritage AI time machine. What it does is it allows you to upload an image. So the image there at the bottom, it's just a photograph, and it'll take that image and it'll bring it to life and make it into a video. So those two kids are moving and the duck is moving, and it's very natural and realistic. So this is interesting to some, and to others, depending on the photograph, it can be deeply meaningful. So it does something very specific, and that something very specific is only possible because of AI. It's called the MyHeritage Live Memory. Yeah. Okay. So, and again, I'm happy to share these slides with you so you'll have it. Yes, yes. So this is a slide, so it's still, but when you click that triangle, it's as if someone was shooting it's as if someone shot a video and they're moving around and playing with the duck, and it's 6 seconds. So it's a short video, it's limited to 6 seconds because there's a lot that's required to make that happen. But even still, it can have a very powerful effect. All right, here's another example. This is an interesting picture of someone making lemonade. So this is actually an AI-generated image. So based on this description, editorial lifestyle photograph of a relaxed Cape Winelands garden table, lemonade is being made on the table, casual outdoor dining under dappled sunlight, cinematic golden hour lighting, soft film grain, medium format photography, Kodak Porta 400. So this was clearly created, the prompt was created by someone who knows about photography. But isn't it amazing that this tool called Midjourney is able to take that description and create the photograph? It's fascinating. An AI-first product. It could not happen without AI. As you may have noticed with this one and the previous example, both of those types of things are very, very specific. And they give you a specific result. So that's a characteristic of AI-first products. You have an application, and often you have like buttons and menus and things that you can use to do something specific. And that's what sets it apart from the third type of AI. The third type of AI is, I call this category the AI assistants. And as you have noticed, if you've ever used ChatGPT, it doesn't have much of an interface in terms of buttons and menus and things that you can do. All it has is a box. So there's the Ask Anything box at the bottom. And so what I typed into that box is, what is a concise, non-technical definition of AI? And then it provided that for me in a couple of seconds. So the difference between AI assistants and the other things that we've seen is that you need to do a bit more work in order to get a result. Can anyone think of an upside to that?
Upside, it's fantastic. You can do PowerPoint or anything with that. And it remembers everything about you as well.
Okay.
So that you have no secrets.
Okay. Okay. Really good point. So can you say that again?
I use it all the time, and it creates PowerPoint, and it has every knowledge about you. I wrote a short thing about my life, and it gave me a better story about myself than I could write.
Yep, I do it all the time. So even though it's a little more difficult, she said like you can do all sorts of things with it. So it's an extremely powerful tool, whereas everything that we talked about in the other two categories is very specific and somewhat limited. So that's the important distinction between this third category of AI and the first two that we covered, okay? And so we can think about this as a spectrum. There are AI-enhanced products, and some of you may not have known that the ATM machine and the voice typing is AI, so it's invisible. The AI is there, but you don't know it's there. It's just kind of working behind the scenes. And then there are AI-first products. Those are simple and easy. So you do know they're there, you do know there's AI, but it's very easy to use because it's set up to do something specific. And then the AI assistants on the other end of the spectrum, very powerful, but it takes a bit of skill to get good at it. But the good news is it doesn't take a lot of skill to start, as we will see as we jump into the next section, a guide to AI assistants. So this will be a quick start guide for those of you who have not already used ChatGPT and another AI assistant. And again, if you have used it, I'll try to work in some interesting things that you can know about and try. Okay, how do they work? So once you have opened an AI assistant, you'll see a box where you can type stuff in, okay? And that's where you would put the prompt. A prompt is just the way that people say it's a question or an instruction for the AI assistant. That's what a prompt is. So you type that prompt, and then the AI assistant then reads the prompt, processes it, and then gives you a response. And we'll see some examples of that. Here's the important part. It's not just a one and done thing. You can, once you get a response, you can then tell it to do more things because it's a conversation. She's nodding her head. That's true. Yes. Good point. Yeah. So before ChatGPT, you would put in a prompt, you would get a response, and then it would give you the box again. But now, tell me your name. What's your name? Esther. As Esther mentioned, a while ago, ChatGPT did something very interesting. Not only does it give you a response to your question or to what you asked it to do, but now it also follows up with ideas of what to do next. And it is amazingly intuitive in terms of what you might want to do next. I would say 40% of the time, I actually do want to do something that it recommends to do next. And that makes this conversation even easier. Okay. How many use Perplexity? Use Perplexity. Okay, I got 2 hands. So Perplexity is another AI assistant, and it is good for if you need information that is more current. So ChatGPT and other AI assistants train the software on information from the past, but Perplexity by default will search the web and get live information and use that to answer the question. So I was just curious about that. Okay, so you can say things like, that's helpful when you get a response, that's helpful, can you make it shorter? Can you explain that another way? Can you make it less technical? You can say, that's close, but let me clarify and give you a couple of other instructions so that you can take what you did and edit it to be more aligned with what I had in mind. You don't need to be precise. You can also start with something general and then progressively get more specific. That works really well. Okay, so what can they do? Quite a lot, actually. So thinking about it in human terms, they can read, so they can take that message that you have written, they can read it, they can interpret it. If you spell something wrong, no problem. It knows what you meant. It can see. So one day I was just walking down the street and I saw some strange object connected to a fence. And I was wondering, what on earth is that thing? And so I took a picture of it and uploaded it to ChatGPT, and it explained to me exactly what it was. And it had to do with like the automated gate system. And then it gave me a very detailed explanation of what it was. I did a virtual tour I went to Israel a couple of years ago, wanted to share some photos with people. But I took, you ever take pictures and then you don't actually know, like a month later, what you took a picture of? So for my virtual tour, I was able to upload photos, and I could upload a photo and I could say, what is this? And then I told it I was creating a virtual tour. Tell me 3 interesting facts about this that I can share with other people. So I sounded like I knew what I was talking about because I did research, and ChatGPT made it extremely simple to do that. Okay, so it can see. It can hear as well. You can type a prompt, but in many different AI assistants, you can also talk to it, much like you can voice type. Okay.
What I'm finding is, I don't want to say the name, but SIRI, because we'll answer on every nearby phone, also says, shall I ask ChatGPT?
Okay, yeah.
That's a new thing now.
Right.
Siri is using
So they've integrated Siri with ChatGPT. They've done something similar. If you have Alexa, like an Amazon Echo Show device or something else that does Alexa, now they have like an AI version of it. And so it can give you the functionality of what we're talking about, these AI assistants, and you can just talk to it. So that's a great way to go. The next thing it can do is think, and again, we're talking about software, so it's not actually thinking, but a lot of the ways that the brain works has been mimicked using software. So it can reason, it can explain, it can summarize, it can play devil's advocate when you have an idea. It can do a lot of interesting things. It can talk. So not only can it listen to your voice and interpret what you're saying, but it can also talk back and have a conversation with you. So my son has created a tool that will help him to get better at technology and fill in some of the gaps that he has. And so during his commute, he essentially turns ChatGPT into a tutor. And they have conversations back and forth about different technical concepts. And he's able to learn, and it tracks his progress. And it's a great use of his time in the car when he would otherwise just be listening to music or something like that. Okay, it can remember. So again, these things are based on conversations. As Esther mentioned, it remembers not only what's in that conversation, but it also remembers things that you've done and said in other conversations. So on one hand, that's incredibly useful, and on the other hand, creepy. Some people might find that creepy. ChatGPT is nice because, and so for some of you users that already use ChatGPT, take advantage of the memory feature. So you can explicitly indicate to ChatGPT what you want it to remember. And then sometimes it'll see things that it thinks are noteworthy, and it'll say memory updated. And so you can always go into the memory, you can see what it's stored about you, and then you can remove things that you don't want, because maybe you're using it one day on behalf of someone else, and the way that you use it is different than that, and so you could remove that memory, and it'll be more tuned to the way that you work. What's the best way to use them? Quick question, how many of you have ever had a secretary or worked as a secretary? Okay, all right, great. So I asked because this is the analogy that I use. When you think about the best way to work with an AI assistant, you should pretend that it's a person who's always available, day or night, has read the entire internet, can think, organize, and respond incredibly fast, and replies immediately. That's essentially what an AI assistant is. So have anyone heard the term prompt engineering? You've kind of heard it? Okay, good. I'm glad you haven't heard it because I think it's a nonsense term. They use this term prompt engineering to describe people who are good at using AI assistants to do specific things and to get really good results. And I think it's a ridiculous term because there's no engineering involved. People who get good results from AI assistants aren't engineers, they're just good communicators. That's all you have to be. Think of it as communication. Think of it like you're talking to a person. I use please and thank you, not because it matters to a machine, but because that's how I talk to people in general, and it gives me a more natural way of communicating. And it works very well in terms of me being able to articulate my thoughts. So think of it as a person. That's one of the biggest tips that I can give you for using it effectively. Okay, which one should I use? I recommend 3. If you've never used an AI assistant before, you can start with Google. You see, you can't see because it's tiny, but over there underneath to the right of the E, down toward the middle, it says AI mode. And so if you click AI mode, when you do your Google search, it's not going to give you a list of results like Google usually does. It gives you an answer. It just answers or responds to it. And so that's a really easy way to go. Go to Google, look for that AI mode, and that will get you started. Quick question. Huh? It uses Gemini, but it's not Gemini because Gemini is an actual AI assistant. But it's using it. It's basically the Google search integrated into Gemini, but with less features. Okay, here's another option. Duck.ai. Anyone use DuckDuckGo? A couple of us. Okay, so DuckDuckGo is a web browser. Most people use Chrome. DuckDuckGo is popular for people who really like privacy because it doesn't track you, and in fact, it blocks sites from tracking you. They have an AI too. So just like you can search Google and go into AI mode, you can go to DuckDuckGo, and it has an AI mode too. So if you put in your browser, duck.ai, then you'll see a box that you can type stuff in, and that's your AI assistant. And it works a lot like ChatGPT, except it doesn't remember things about you because it's a privacy-based website. The reason I mention this one, I think it's worthy of mention, is because when you use ChatGPT and many of the other tools, you have to create an account. And sometimes that creates friction because you have to, remember your email, you got to remember your password. And with duck.ai, you never have to do any of that. You just go to the site and start typing. So I actually use it a lot. I use ChatGPT most of the time, but anytime I need something that I don't think I'm going to need to save or reference in the future, I will use duck.ai. So I like it a lot. The other thing is that you're able to use different types of AI assistants. So you can use the same model, they call it. You can use the ChatGPT model or a Gemini model or the one that Facebook uses. And you can switch between the two at the top there. They use something called, you mean their tool? I know the model is Llama, but they've integrated it into things like WhatsApp. So they kind of put like the AI assistant, they bundled it with different products. Yeah. Okay. And then there's ChatGPT. So that's my favorite one. And it would be good to eventually get to that. So maybe if you haven't started, maybe you can start with Google or duck.ai. But eventually it would be an extremely good idea, in my opinion, to start using ChatGPT because it's a lot more powerful and does a lot more. All right, how do I get started? Think of something that you want to know or a question you have or some result that you're interested in getting. Think of how you would describe that to a helpful assistant, a helpful human assistant. Figure out which AI tool you want to use, and then type it in there. So it's pretty simple. And another piece of advice is that I would avoid putting too much thought into it. And this is something that I struggle with too. I often want to get my prompts extremely precise and think through them, and I spend a lot of time at times, but really sometimes it's better for me to just start very simple and then build on the conversation. So that's what I would recommend for you all. Start simple, don't put too much thought into it. You can even let it know that you're thinking of something, but you're not quite sure what you want the result to be first, and then they'll help you figure out what that result might look like. All right, so we are doing great on time. That's good. Let's look at some examples. This is the fun part. Okay, so we'll talk about 4 different categories of things that you could do with AI. These are just general categories. So staying connected with friends and family, pursuing lifelong learning, staying mentally sharp, and making daily tasks easier. So those are the 4 themes that we will talk about today. We'll take a look at some prompts and see what kind of results we get. All right. One, two? Okay, great. All right. So, since some of you are using AI already, as we go through these, perhaps you can chime in and let us know what you might do in addition to that, or how you may have changed the prompt. Yes, I'm listening. I just want to get set up at the same time. Oh, thank you so much. Perfect. Can you wait for the mic so other people can hear you? Thanks.
I think if you surveyed the people in this room, that most of us have some exposure to this, and perhaps we have decided on how we want to make use of it. For me, it's to save time and to do it accurately. And I think the accuracy issue is a problem. We have a nephew who is a graduate of Caltech in Berkeley, PhD level. And he spoke to us about a year or so ago about information gathering using AI. And he talked to us a lot about the dangers that we face or the way that it's used inappropriately. For example, young people can write their thesis by pulling information off of AI and having incorrect information that's put into that thesis. And of course, I don't expect to get to that level. But for me, saving time and accuracy are extremely important. And so I'm just sharing that with you, really.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's a good, I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah, it often gets things wrong. I have a handout for you guys. And at the bottom of it, it says, remember, it doesn't really think, it just uses data, and it makes confident mistakes. That's on the handout. Confident mistakes. Any reason, who can tell me why I said confident mistakes? Because you don't usually hear those 2 words together, right? Why do I say it makes confident mistakes? No, it does. It does admit when it's wrong, but I am so happy you said that. What's your name? Garrett. I'm so happy he said that because yes, that's exactly what it does. It tries to be helpful. And in addition to the memory feature of ChatGPT, those of you using ChatGPT, custom instructions is the answer to what you just said. So in my custom instructions, I say, if you don't know something, don't try to answer the question, say you don't know. And that's what it does. So it's kind of nice that ChatGPT, one of the features it has that the other 2 don't, is that you can customize exactly how you want it to behave. And sometimes it will say, well, I don't really know. You told me not to guess and make up stuff, so I'm going to tell you that I don't know. So I would highly recommend, once you get to the point where you're using ChatGPT, give that a try. Okay, so let's talk about these prompts. I'm just going to go through and show you. I'll make this bigger. Okay, so here's the prompt. I have a 10-year-old granddaughter and want to talk with her more. What are girls her age interested in right now? Please give me some topics and questions I could use to start a fun conversation. So that's the prompt. And then it's encouraging, oh, that's great, you want to connect with your granddaughter. And so it gives you a categorized list of topics that you might want to. Is that, okay, yeah. So conversation starters, it has shows, movies, online videos. So what's your favorite show or movies these days? Who do you like hanging out with at school? Animals and nature, dreams and imaginations. What do you think would be the most fun job in the world? So it's not only providing relevant topics, but it's also addressing the intent. So the intent is that you want to be able to connect with your granddaughter, and it senses that, and in addition to answering the question, it also provides you other ideas on how to do that. So, okay. Anyone want to quickly tell me how they might change that prompt or what they might say next? Okay. In this one, yeah. And if not, it's okay, because we'll go to a next one. The other one is also along the lines of connecting with friends and family. And this one is, please write a short story, a short fun story I can read to my 7-year-old great-grandson. He likes Roblox, animals, and adventures. Include a jungle, a dog named Fido, make it about 5 minutes long. So this is highly specific. You know that he likes Roblox, which is a mobile game, and he's got a dog named Fido, and he likes the jungle. And so you can provide all of that detail to ChatGPT, and it will create a story for you. And there's the story. By the way, I can also give you the link. Another feature of ChatGPT is that you can share a conversation. So what I'll do for anyone who's interested, and I'll tell you how to contact me, you can, I can give you the link, and then you'll have access to this entire page. And you can even, like, continue that same conversation. Got a question?
Yes. What is the difference in the presentation between Chat, Google, and DuckDuck in asking the same question?
The answer, so the way that these AI assistants work, you can ask the same question 2 times and get a completely different answer. The essence may be the same, but it's going to be different. And they're intentionally designed to be that way. So the difference is, you know, if you ask them the same question, you'll probably get the same type of answer, but the actual words that are being used will be completely different. Okay. Yes. Esther is absolutely right. One problem is information overload is a problem. And so the way that you can help mitigate that is by telling it exactly how long you want the response to be. So, for example, this is actually nice timing, because here's a story, and it's, you know, it's a little short story, but maybe we feel like the attention span of our great-grandson is like not enough for this picture, for this story. We can say, you know what, make it half as long. Make it about 200 words. So you can do any of those types of things to mitigate the length of this story, and by extension, address what you just said about information overload. It's very important. What's that? It will, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Teach me how tides work. So now we're going into lifelong learning. Can you teach me how tides work in a way that's easy to understand, break it into short sections, give me 3 review questions? And it will do that. Now at this point, you can say, thanks, but ask me the questions one at a time and wait for my response and give me a comment on my response. So that's a good example of how you can continue the conversation and make it more tailored to your expectations. Okay? So the next one. Tell me 10 interesting things that happened exactly 50 years ago today. Include fun facts, news, or pop culture if you can. So what I like about this one is that that would be extremely hard and time consuming to do. But it does it in a few seconds. Yeah. So, and I looked these up to make sure it wasn't, just making stuff up. I looked up the first one, and the first one was totally legit, so I'm assuming the other ones were too. Okay. Staying mentally sharp. Give me a riddle with 3 clues. Let me guess the answer before you tell me. Clue 1, I can be cracked, made, told, and played. I can bring laughter, but I am not always kind. If you get me, I might say I get it. What am I? A joke, yes. So you could totally say, that's too easy, give me one that's more challenging. And it would do that. Give me 5 scrambled words that are about the beach. Don't give me the answers right away. I want to guess. There's the scrambles. And then you can just type in the actual words. It'll let you know if you got it right. Honestly, it didn't, for some reason it has trouble with this. So this one is supposed to be sand, but it added letters. So what you might want to do is you might want to experiment with getting it to do it right. And so I might say something like, yeah, I want word scrambles, but don't add extra letters that aren't a part of the word, because that's not how word scrambles work. You could say that. And it'll be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then it'll try to do it right. So yeah, maybe give that a try. Yeah. Okay, I have chicken, broccoli, and now we're going into life management. I have chicken, broccoli, and cheddar cheese. What's a simple recipe I can make with those? You can add a few ingredients if you'd like. Okay? So very, very, very not kosher. So yeah, you'd put in different. Oh, make it kosher, and then it would be better. It would be more appropriate. Okay, last one. Can you ask me a few questions? Help me pick a vacation spot, and then suggest 3 places I might really enjoy. So now you're doing something different. You're getting the AI to ask you questions, and then it can use that information to then give you suggestions. Okay, so like I said, I'd be happy to share that conversation with you guys, and let's move on to the questions part of the day. Okay, so in the deck, they're the actual prompts that I use, so you could copy and paste those if you like. Okay, so meet Denise. Denise is my AI co-presenter. She's here to help me answer some questions. So let me get her set up. Give me a minute. All right. It's that dot there. Okay, so let's see. Yes, because there's a world of opportunity that opens up. I agree with that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so Denise and I did some rehearsing yesterday. So let's see how this works out.
I don't need Microsoft embedded Copilot into this Chrome browser. How does that compare?
They're all very similar. So Copilot is a Microsoft-focused product. So the difference is that it's going to work better with Microsoft applications. Gemini is going to work better with Google. That's essentially the difference. But they are all very, very similar. Okay, let's try this. Hello, Denise. Can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm Denise, and I'm delighted to be your AI co-presenter for this Q&A. I know for many of you, this might be the very first time hearing an AI voice like mine, so welcome. So far, you've been diving into what AI can do and how it fits into everyday life. Now it's your turn to get curious and ask anything that's on your mind. Charles will share your questions with me, and we'll figure things out together in a way that's easy and hopefully a bit of fun. Let's get started.
Okay.
We've all heard the downsides of AI. In the paper this weekend, there were stories about Stanford, top Stanford grads being not able to get jobs because of AI. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Of course, and thanks for bringing that up. It sounds like you're asking about some of the concerns around AI's impact on jobs in the workforce. So a simple way to think about this is that AI is a tool, and like any powerful tool, it can change the types of jobs people do. Doesn't mean everything disappears, it just means that some roles might evolve. And the good news is that while there are challenges, there are also new opportunities to use AI in ways that make our lives easier. So it's definitely something we can explore together, and it's great that you're curious about it. That's a fascinating question. It sounds like you're wondering how an AI voice like mine comes to life. Well, think of it like this. I'm a product of a lot of careful training by humans who taught me to understand and respond to questions. They used a big set of examples of human conversations to help me learn how to chat naturally. So basically, I'm here thanks to a lot of human creativity and a little bit of computer magic behind the scenes. Absolutely. That's a great observation. It sounds like you're asking if clicking on that Gemini option is a simple way to start using AI. And yes, that's exactly right. You can just click on it and it will open up a way for you to interact with an AI assistant, similar to how you're talking to me right now. It's really as easy as that, and you can start exploring whenever you're ready.
Thanks. So Sharon and I were talking earlier today. She is an art docent at the Norton Simon Museum. Do you have any suggestions on how she might use AI in conjunction with that?
Absolutely. And that sounds like a really fun idea. It sounds like you're wondering how Sharon, as an art docent, could bring a little AI magic into her museum work. One easy way is to use AI to create engaging stories or fun facts about the artworks. For example, she could have an AI help generate interesting trivia or even little historical anecdotes that she can share with visitors in a more interactive way. Another idea is that she could use AI tools to help visitors explore art styles or even imagine what a painting might look like in a different time period or with a different color palette. It can be a really fun way to get people more engaged and curious about the art they're seeing. So there are definitely some creative possibilities there for her to explore. That's a really thoughtful question, and I'm glad you brought it up. It sounds like you're wondering whether AI is really the kind of threat that some headlines suggest. And the honest answer is that while AI will certainly change some jobs, it's not all doom and gloom. A simple way to think about it is that AI is more like a new set of tools. Just like computers change the kinds of work people do without eliminating all jobs, AI will likely create new opportunities even as it changes others. So while it's good to be thoughtful about these shifts, it's not quite as dire as some of the more dramatic stories make it sound. It's really more about adapting and finding new ways to use these tools. Not at all. That's actually a really insightful question. It sounds like you're asking about the environmental impact and whether it uses a lot of resources like water. And yes, you're definitely not out in left field for thinking about that. In fact, some data centers and big computing operations do use water for cooling and for keeping all the hardware running efficiently. It's part of the infrastructure that supports AI technology, but it's also an area where people are working on more sustainable approaches over time. So it's a great question to ask, and it's good to be aware of the bigger picture as we all learn to use these tools. Of course, I'd be happy to slow down. I'll take it a bit more slowly so it's easier to follow along. Thanks for letting me know. Absolutely. Take your time and feel free to ask as many as you like. I'm here to help, and I'll keep things nice and easy paced. That's a really thoughtful point, and it's great that you're bringing it up. So let's slow down and look at it this way. AI can definitely feel like having a really smart reference book at your fingertips, but it's not here to replace your own thinking. In fact, it's more like a partner that can help you explore ideas or get a new perspective, but you still get to decide what you think and how you want to use the information. So I'd say the best way to think about it is that AI can actually encourage critical thinking by giving you more tools to question, explore, and come to your own conclusions. It's definitely not about taking away your ability to think for yourself.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Let's wrap up. Do you have any suggestions for the group?
Of course, and thanks for a great conversation. So let me leave you with this. The main takeaway is that AI is really just a tool to help you explore and be curious. You still get to do all the thinking and deciding. And if any of this feels like a lot, just remember that you can always take it step by step. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for letting me be part of the conversation.
All right. So let's wrap up, you guys. Got about, you said, Sharon, you said I could, you said 5 minutes? Okay, okay, great. Thanks. All right, so let's wrap up with some things that you can consider. Let's see. All right, let's see. Okay, so continue your AI journey. Here are some things that you might want to explore based on what we've talked about today. Additional ideas for staying connected with family, learning something new, keeping your mind active, making life easier. Improving health and wellness, that's another category to consider. So again, think about questions you may have or things that you might want to do, goals that you might want to pursue, and you can discuss those with AI and get some insightful feedback. There's also exciting possibilities with things such as hobbies and interests, professional and volunteer activities, things that you do along those lines. AI can help you do them faster and help you focus on the things that matter most. Working with images and video, we looked at the time machine, the MyHeritage tool that allows you to create images, videos from images. There are other tools that help you restore photographs and do other interesting things with images and video. And then there are a number of AI assistants. So Copilot was mentioned, there's Gemini, Perplexity. You may want to branch out and see what these other tools have to offer. see when one tool is better for something and another tool may be very good at something else. Okay, so there is a feedback form. So the feedback form asks you a couple of questions, and for those that aren't familiar with how QR codes work, maybe we can send them a link to the feedback form. And then you can also provide your email address and let me know what things you want. You can get the slides. Could you pass those out, please? You can get a copy of the slides, the conversation that has the prompts in them, and this is going to be coming around right now. And if you want an electronic version of that, you can get one as well. I'd be happy to send that to you. Thank you all. I'm sorry, I think let's talk about it afterward because it's time for the next speaker. Yeah, but thank you all. It was really fun to be here. Appreciate it.